Oh, good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the East Stage of Adelaide Writers Week. And just before we start, a few housekeeping matters. Please make sure that your phones are turned to silent. If you are tweeting or Instagramming, the hashtag is #ADLWW. Please note that unlike most of the sessions, there won't be a book signing afterwards. Out of respect for Archie's health, this is going to be a big session for him, so there won't be a book signing, but there are certainly books available in the book sales tent afterwards. I'd also, and very appropriately, like to acknowledge country. We're on Kaurna land, and I think it's a great privilege to actually be here under the beautiful trees on Kaurna land. We'd like to acknowledge that we meet on a place where the traditional Kaurna people met for thousands of years, and we respect their spiritual relationship with country. We also acknowledge that the Kaurna people are the custodians of the Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to all Kaurna people and all of us today. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name's David Sly. I'm a long-time Adelaide journalist, and I spent the first 15 years of my journalistic career writing about music and entertainment for the news and the Adelaide Advertiser, and it was my great privilege to hear a voice that called out. And the first words I heard from Archie were the first lines of, "They took the children away. This story's right, this story's true. I would not tell lies to you." Very, very powerful words. And those powerful words are not only in song, they're also in this extraordinary book that tells the story and the life of Archie Roach. And can you please welcome Mr. Archie Roach?
Thank you.
I can already feel a lot of love in the space.
Yes.
Archie, I must admit, I was very surprised when the book came out, for the simple reason your songs have been so autobiographical. They've told your story clearly and truly in very poignant lyrics, and I thought Archie's story had been told in all of your song lyrics, but I was wrong. There's a much bigger story in here. What compelled you to actually take your pen and, instead of writing lyrics, concentrate on writing a book? What was the avenue that took you there?
I think over certain things that happened since 2010, since the 17th of February 2010, was the day that Ruby passed away. Ruby Hunter, my partner of 38 years, and not long after that, that same year, I had a stroke in the Kimberley, a place called Warman, or better known as Turkey Creek. And so I got crook. I had to rehabilitate myself, with the help of people, professional people. And then in 2011, being diagnosed with lung cancer, I thought, after Ruby's passing and the stroke and lung cancer, I just threw my hands up in the air and thought, is this enough? Is this enough? Should I suffer some more? But yeah, it's coming back from that, and performing again, be able to get up back on stage and sing and record again. Was part of my healing as well. So being able to do that, I thought, well, not just me, my manager Jill Shelton, we thought it was time to maybe write a book about my life and music. Yeah.
It was interesting, at that time, as you were rehabilitating, you came into Adelaide and you played at the Adelaide Festival in 2011.
Yes.
And I had the chance to interview you before that, and the interview was published in the WOMAD program. You said something really powerful. It had been a horrible year for you on so many personal and physical levels. You said music. It's the best place to go during these times. It's a way to express the things that are so hard to say. It helped you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Music has helped me do that, because when I was a younger fellow, I expressed myself a bit negatively and started drinking at a young age. Started drinking alcohol, getting into fights, getting into trouble with police, going to jail. So that wasn't really doing me any good. But music, when I stopped drinking alcohol, music and writing songs, a different way to express myself in a more positive way, and it really helped and became a healing for me, and still is today.
It's fantastic. In that same interview, you said something very, very interesting, how your songs started as something personal, but they ended up becoming much bigger. They weren't just your songs anymore. They became all of our songs. You said, in 1988, when I first recorded these songs, just as I was starting out as a musician, they were all very personal. They were just my story.
Yeah.
Now they are universal. I've had to let go of them in a way, but that's okay. They've grown to carry multiple messages. Has that surprised you as a songwriter to see how people take your music, take your lyrics, and have a very personal interpretation of them?
Yeah, it's you really never know what you just hope you've written a good song, and that somebody might like it. And then people come up and start talking to you about a certain song and how it's helped them. And young men in prison, or I've just got out of prison, and say, it's got me through some hard times, Uncle. I'd like to thank you. And just the other day, we were in a place called Nannup in Western Australia, and a man came up to me and told me his story, how his father got sick, very sick, and his mother became, his wife, his mother became his father's carer, but she suddenly got ill and passed away, and he didn't know where to go, and all he could do was, and he said, but he leaned heavily on you, Archie, and you don't know what to say. You don't know what to say. It hits you deep. And you're just so humbled and think, I don't know what to say. And I don't. It's just sitting here now, I still don't know what to say about that. It's, I don't know, it's just so moving. It hits me. It's so moving for me to hear something like that. And to think that, just a song or some songs I might have written has helped people somehow in some small way. Just blows me away.
It's extraordinary. The interesting thing about Tell Me Why, the book, is that I think music fans would come here thinking that perhaps they might find some answers about your music, but more than a book about music, it's a book about family. It's about you finding your family and the incredible journey that it took.
Yes.
It's an uplifting story in that way, but it's also harks back to very difficult days, and it goes back to a day in your childhood at school where a sister that you didn't know wrote a letter to you that somehow found its way to you. Could you please tell us that story of that letter reaching you and how that changed you so profoundly?
Yeah, well, I I was taken away from my family from my mother and father when I was 2 years of age. And later on up the track, about 12 years later, when I turned 14, I was sitting at school, and I never, I didn't even know any other Aboriginal people. They weren't around me wherever I went, or I wasn't around them. And but I was sitting at school just like any other day. In English class, I loved English. I loved writing poetry and essays, and I was sitting in the class, and over the speaker in the classroom, it said, "Would Archibald William Roach please come to the office?" Archibald William Roach. And everybody sort of looked around at each other, confused. And but I sat there, I sat there strangely thinking about this name, and some echo from some distant echo from the past started reverberating in my head. Archibald William Roach. And it sounded familiar, and I said to Mrs. Peters, the English teacher, I said, "I think that's me." And she said,
because
really,
you had your other
because there was no Archibald William Roach at the school. I've been known as Archie Cox, my foster parents' name, for as long as I can remember. I was Archie Cox, and so I got up, and everybody still looked confused. And I walked down to the office, and the secretary asked me if I was Archibald William Roach, and I said, I don't know why I knew then. I said, yeah, I am. And she handed me a letter. Yeah. And, yeah.
That letter changes a lot because it introduces you to a life that had not, well, it wasn't at the forefront of your thinking, but
no.
it unlocked a door that couldn't remain closed again.
No. Well, I'm sitting there looking at this envelope, and remember when people wrote letters, and you'd have the address, 25 Melba Avenue, Lilydale, Victoria. Lilydale High School, and on the back was the address of the sender, Myrtle Evans, 1 Toxteth Road, Glebe, Sydney, New South Wales. And I opened the letter and thought, who is this lady? But I started reading it, and the first thing it said was, "Dear brother, your dear old mum passed away a week ago." And I didn't know what she meant. Then she started naming brothers and sisters of mine I never even heard of. And she said my mother's name was Nellie Austin, and my father's name was Archie too. I was named after Dad. And he'd passed away before Mum. So I'd got this letter that really changed the course of my journey in life, that's for sure.
There's a bigger stab to come. That was difficult enough, but the story that had been told to the Cox family, who looked after you and cared for you really well,
yes,
they'd been lied to as well as to what had happened to your family.
Well, yeah, I don't fully understand. I suppose that's the question that was posed, is tell me why. And they were told that my family had perished in a house fire, a place called Dandenong, and I somehow survived. I don't know how, but I did. And they took that for gospel. And but I don't know why anybody would tell them that. I really don't. I think, they could have just said, something else but that, I suppose. I don't know. It's a tough one.
It certainly caused some fractures within you that needed healing. And still as a very young bloke at 15, you had to go searching.
I did. I didn't want to leave the Coxes were beautiful people. They were lovely people. He was an old Scotsman from Glasgow, and it's a lovely man, and Mum Dulcie. They were lovely people, and they showed me love, and so it was hard to leave them too, but I had to. I had to find out who this woman was and what she was talking about, and who this mother was that had just passed recently, and find out a bit more about her and this old fella named Archie as well. Yeah.
The journey becomes even more difficult because you leave Melbourne, you leave the safe family life that you had, you get on the road, you go to Sydney, and you can't find the person you want at the address. The only piece of information you've got is the address on the back of the envelope, and you can't find that person.
No.
You're 15, you're in a different city, you're alone. Bad times ahead.
Well, that's right. Sydney was Sydney. Was Sydney. The big smoke. The big stack. The biggest of the big smoke. And, so I couldn't went to the address. But it took me about a year to get there, though. But, because I went to Shepparton in Victoria, fruit picking country, and stayed there for a little while with people I knew. But then ended up in Sydney, couldn't find Myrtle Evans at 1 Toxteth Road, Glebe. And she'd gone, nobody knew where, so I was on my own. I was broke, no money, didn't have anywhere to stay. So I just drifted around Sydney the first night. I was in Sydney a couple of nights. I got in a little bit of... somebody put me up in his room for a while, but he was just he wasn't really a nice bloke. He was just a dirty old man. And I got away from him. I was just wandering around Sydney the next couple of nights, sleeping here and there. It was pretty tough.
At that time, in addition to trying to find yourself, you find alcohol as well.
Yeah.
That starts a pretty rough ride.
It did. At the start, it was all right, I thought. I never drunk any alcohol before, and I was walking through a place called Belmore Park in Sydney, near Central Station. And walking through, and this old Aboriginal fellow sitting on the park bench, singing out to me, "Hey, bud! Hey, bud!" And I'm turning around, looking around, I think, who's he talking to? "Hey, bud, come over here." And I said, "Me?" He said, "Yes." So I walked over and sat down next to him, and he pulled something from inside his coat. Pulled something out, and it was a small bottle of wine, brown muscat. And he said, "Here, have a charge." And I don't know why, but I just grabbed it and had a swig. And it burnt my mouth and throat. And as it was going down, it was a bit rough. But he said, "Have another one." The first mouthful was always the hardest to get down. And I thought, how did you know this is my first mouthful of alcohol? But I think he was thinking about the first drink of the day. And but it was my actually first drink of my life I ever had. But the second mouthful and the third mouthful and the fourth mouthful started to go down real easy. And I started to feel really good and happy. And I thought, this is good. And I started smiling. and we had a laugh about something silly, and it's the best I felt in for a long time. And so introduced me to alcohol. But no matter how many times I tried after that, each day after that drinking, and every year after that drinking, you could never find that, you could never have that same experience of your first drunk, even though you look for that, because that seemed like a good experience, the first drunk. But every other drunk after that, just I don't know, just didn't seem as good. Yeah.
And you keep chasing, but it's not doing it.
You keep chasing it, trying to get that feeling, that euphoria, if I can use a jawbreaker, that you get from the first drunk. It just wasn't there anymore, even though you're looking for it, searching for that euphoric first drunk. Yeah.
So you're on that journey, trying to reclaim the ultimate charge again, but you're also ricocheting around trying to find family. It ends up taking you back to Melbourne, and you end up in Fitzroy. And,
I did.
And everything escalates. The drinking, the connections with people, it all starts to go into overdrive. Yeah,
I did meet a sister, fortunately, in Sydney, but we did. You ended up in Melbourne, and like I said, I didn't know Melbourne very well. And so I just wandered around the city in Melbourne. Couldn't see any Aboriginal people anyway. But ended up being directed to Fitzroy, a place called Fitzroy, Gertrude Street. And that's where all the people hung out, all the Aboriginal people. And I met family there, sister. Fella thought I was my brother. I was walking down Gertrude Street, and he was outside the pub. He looking at me, he's shaping up. I said, look, I just got here. I just got here in Melbourne. This fella wants to fight me already. I don't even know who he is. And as I got closer, he put his hands down and said, oh, sorry, my brother, I thought you were someone else. And I said, okay, was that how you greet your friends? Shape up to him, look, punch him on the chin or something. He said, nah, just mucking around. We like to have a little bit of a muck around spa every now and then with each other. I said, who do you think I was? He said, I thought you was Big Johnny Roach. And bang, I remember the letter. That's one of my brothers. Or this lady said named Myrtle, named one of my brothers as Johnny. Or Horse, they called him Horse. And because he was a big bloke, he was a big fella. And I said to him, I think that's my brother. And he said, wait, just wait here, just hang on. And he ran into the pub, and he come out with this lovely woman, big woman too, beautiful, big cheeks and lovely black hair, beautiful eyes. And he said, do you know who this is? And she hadn't seen me since I was 2. And she looked at me and goes, and started crying. I said, that's my baby brother, Archie. And that's Elma, that's my other sister, Elma, my big sister. Yeah, so that was beautiful, but, but like you said, things got sort of worse, I suppose. My drinking did and other things. Yeah, sorry. Went off on a bit of a thing there.
The observant ones amongst you would have seen that old habits die hard in Archie. He just squared up with a boxing stance.
Yeah.
That came because you were part of a boxing troupe. You were part of the tent boxers, the Aboriginal tent boxers.
Yeah, I learnt later on that my father fought for a bloke called Jimmy Sharman. Jimmy Sharman was a showman who had a boxing tent. So my dad was a tent boxer. And Horse, Johnny was a tent boxer. And Lawrence had to go at it, So I just followed in their footsteps. I ended up fighting for a fellow called Billy Leach in Melbourne, around Victoria. And so I became a tent boxer as well. Yeah. So it runs in the family.
These years of roaming around and ricocheting around bring you to Adelaide as well. And Adelaide plays a pretty pivotal part in your story. You were at the People's Palace in Pirie Street, the old Salvation Army home.
Yeah, the People's Palace. Yeah.
And you meet somebody in a blue dress and a white cardigan who changes your life.
Yeah, I'd been in Adelaide for a day or two. I remember the first night. Well, the old fella put me up in the People's Palace. He said, I can get you some accommodation. Because I was a stranger in town, and said, I'll get you some accommodation in the People's Palace. And I said, oh, I don't know about that. Sounds a bit flash. And he goes, no, it's run by the Salvation Army. They acquire these grand old hotels and call them People's Palaces. And people with low income or can't afford any accommodation or homeless, they're put up in these places. I said, oh, yeah, okay then. And so I did. I stayed, the first night I stayed there, I got myself a flagon of wine, some cigarettes, and so I got stuck into the flagon of wine and pretty drunk. I woke up in the morning with the sun streaming through the window and it hit my face, this light. And I shot bolt upright. I said, I didn't do nothing. And I realised it was the sun shining through the window and it wasn't the coppers at all. And I got out of bed and said, silly bugger, got myself, I'd sort of washed my face and combed my hair. I was already dressed. And so yeah, I ended up going downstairs. I said, I think I'll go meet the local Aboriginal people and see what they're like. And I walked down the stairs because I didn't like the lift. It looked like a cage. There were old lifts too, so I didn't go in the lift. And as soon as I got down to the foyer, the lift door opened, sorry. And three people walked out. A man and a woman, an older man and a woman, and this young girl, like you said, she's wearing a blue dress, white socks up to just below her knees, black shoes, a white cardigan, and the biggest brown eyes I've ever seen. And I asked the lad, I said, listen, where's all the black fellas drink? And before he could answer, she stuck her head in and said, you want to know where all the black fellas drink, do you? And I got all shy. He said, oh, yeah. I said, well, just follow me. And I did for 38 years.
A very, very special woman. And when Ruby took you down to Victoria Square where you did meet the local blackfellas,
yeah,
there wasn't just a bottle passed around, there was a guitar being passed around as well.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
That seemed pretty important as the ignition point, I think, for you really embracing music more fully.
It was. Bloke called Billy. He was in the park and he had a guitar. And he came, he was asking a few people, he said, he wants to sing a song. And he wants to strum a song. And a few other people there put their hand, nah, not me, boss, not me, man. And he finally come to me, he said, what about you? Do you play guitar? I said, oh, a little bit. He said, you want to play a song? Sing a song for us? I said, nah. Wait till I get a bit charged up. And he said, oh, I do. And Ruby said, go on, play a song. Do you play guitar? I said, a little bit. He said, well, have a go. So I don't know why, but, I felt that because she said so, I said, okay, I'll give it a go. And so they gave me a guitar and I started strumming a song, playing a song. I'm not quite sure what song it was. It was a country song. It could have been Crystal Chandeliers or Haggard's Today I Started Loving You Again. Mel Haggard song, or any one of those songs, old country songs. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah. After I finished that one, they wanted me to sing another one, and I said, "No, that's enough, you fellas." And but it started me off. Yeah.
Not too much further down the line, you're not just singing old country songs and old gospel songs. You start writing your own songs as well.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful moment, and you write right from the word go. You write with real clarity and real directness in lyrics that speak volumes. How difficult was it for you to start writing those first songs?
I don't know. It was strange to start writing songs about your life and about your journey. And some songs were, you'd write a bit and then you stop and think, I don't know if I can write any more of this. It was a bit hard, but once I finally got it down, and the good thing about writing a song, which is different than writing a book, is that you find a melody and you've got an instrument like a guitar or something else, and once you start singing a melody to the words, it lessens the impact of that story or that event. No matter how traumatic it might be, the melody seems to, I don't know, to help carry that song within you and through you. Yeah.
It's interesting. Took the Children Away becomes the first song that most of Australia gets to hear from you.
Yes.
Interestingly, it was an uncle that put you up to that.
Yeah, it was.
And because you were saying, I can't remember the day they took me away.
Yeah.
And he looked you squarely in the eye and he said, yeah, but I can.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's how that story unfolded as to the impetus of why it was necessary to write that song?
Yeah. So the very first couple of songs I wrote were just country-type songs like Falling in Love and Getting Drunk, or falling out of love and getting drunk again. And but Uncle Banjo come up to me and asked me, "Hey, you got a song today, boy?" I said, yeah, Uncle, I try. He said, "Why do you write a song about when you were taken away, mate?" I said, "I don't remember much about it, Uncle. I was only 2. He said, "Yeah, but I do." I think that's one of the reasons I wrote it, because it wasn't just about the children that were taken away, but who we were taken from, And so he sat down with me, told me a bit of a story about, being taken away and how Dad come running around, wanted to fight all the police and wanted to fight the welfare mob. And then my mum's cousins jumping on him and telling him, "No, it's no good. No good. You won't get your kids back if you're in jail, Archie." But he told me the story, so I ended up writing it. Took me about a night in the morning to write the song. I sang it to Uncle Banjo next day. And he looked at me, he said, "Dash him, boy. Dash him."
From the moment you started performing that, it struck everyone in the heart. I can certainly remember one of your early champions of that song was fellow Adelaidean Paul Kelly.
Kelly.
And his guitarist, Steve Connolly.
Steve Connolly.
The late Steve Connolly, the great Fender Stratocaster player.
Beautiful.
They heard you play, they invited you to play at the concert hall in Melbourne. Mm. And it's an extraordinary moment that night, because they're in the wings listening to you play as opening act. Mm. And the reaction that night to that song when you played it was a little baffling to you at first. What happened?
Yeah, I got on stage. I'm a sound check. It wasn't so bad, you know. Well, they call it the Hamer Hall now, but it was just called the Melbourne Concert Hall. It looks like a big bunker sitting on the Yarra, just near the Yarra River, if you've ever been there, Hamer Hall. And I came out. When I did sound check, there was nobody there, just a lot of seats. But as I stood out on stage, they were all full, and there's so many people. I'd only sung my songs in front of the family and community, Aboriginal community. But this place was full of people, and I couldn't spot a black face anywhere. So I stood there and I sang. I just said, "Look, this is a song about a young fella passing away, dying in prison. It's called Beautiful Child." So I sang Beautiful Child and got through it, and stood there and looked at the crowd, and nothing. Crickets. Nothing. And so I don't know, I was a bit sort of surprised and stopped. I said, "Well, maybe you like this next song." And took the children away. I said, "This song's about children being taken away from their families because, I don't know, they thought they could do a better job than my people." And I sang "Took the Children Away" and finished, and still nothing. And I said, "Oh, well, bugger it." You know, if they don't like it, too bad, you know. And I was about to walk off, and then somebody started clapping somewhere. And then somebody else started clapping. And have you ever heard rain starting slowly on a tin roof? You know, it started to sound like that, this pitter-patter of rain. And then all of a sudden it came down like a downpour. And everybody was clapping and applauding. And I just stood there and going, "What?" And I was swept up in the moment. I lifted my guitar over my head. And I wasn't even on the mic, but I'm just yelling out, "Thank you, thank you." And I walked off stage, and I spotted the guy who I thought was a bouncer. He come to talk to me in the green room and said, "Have a good show, Archie." And I thought he was a little bouncer, this fella in the black curly hair and the broken nose, you know. I said, "What, that's a bouncer play?" He said, "That's Paul Kelly." Okay. So I walked off stage feeling a lot better than when I got on stage, that's for sure. Yeah.
That little bouncer bloke actually turned out to be a pretty great fighter who championed your career.
Yeah, he did.
Paul and Steve took you into the studio, recorded, you got the first album out, Charcoal Lane.
Yeah.
And the important thing was it spoke to Black Australia in a very clear voice and echoed their experiences, but it also got white Australia listening to Black Australian problems, probably for the first time for many people as well.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to be in that position of a cross-cultural bridge? There hadn't been a lot of Indigenous musicians in Australia that had been able to get a cross-cultural voice to be heard. It would be heard by Black Australia or white Australia. There weren't many bridging voices. You were probably one of the first really powerful voices to occupy that space, and you were alone there as well. So how did that feel?
I don't know, it was a bit daunting at first, but people would come up and talk to me and thank me and say, "Well, we were never taught this in school about children being taken from families. We never taught that in history class." I said, "I suppose I'm not surprised." But yeah, and But I think, slowly through the years, you take it on, take it on board. And at first, you really you weren't sure what to do or what to say, because, I didn't want to, I didn't see myself as a voice for my people or anything like that. I was just telling stories through song. And I didn't realise the effect that it would have. And so, like I said, it was a little daunting at first, but I don't know, I took it on board slowly through the years, and it's a different dynamic now when I perform. I mean, me and the audience, it's a great interaction, and it's a love that we share. So my audience is not just people who come listen to me sing and to tell stories. They actually interact and give me just as much, if not more sometimes, than I do them. Yeah.
To me, the great power of the voice that you've been able to write in both in lyrics and in this book is that you speak with a true and honest voice. It echoes back to that opening line. This story's right, this story's true, I would not tell lies to you. But you also haven't laced your writing with venom or with anger or with malice. No. You speak in a very measured, generous and loving tone. And I think for anyone who's been through what you've been, that would be very difficult to be that kindly.
I don't know what else to say. It's not pointing the finger of blame and accusing people. It's never really been something that I've done, even though I could, and a lot of people do, and I don't blame them either for their reaction. I understand a lot, and their reaction and how they feel. But I think, it's, I don't know any other way to it's like having a conversation, or like trying to have a conversation with somebody and tell them, look, this is what's happened, it's happened to me. I don't know. I just I just can't see myself raising my fists in the air and wanting to strike out, lash out and hit somebody. I did enough of that when I was drinking, and it didn't get me anywhere except jail.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, it's no good doing stuff. I've been there and done that. Maybe we should just try to, to reach people's hearts and minds. Yeah.
The effectiveness of that, I think, is echoed in the fact that you were awarded 2020 Victorian of the Year. Congratulations, that's a fabulous honour.
No, that was too weird. It was it was the most surreal thing. Yeah, I didn't expect that at all. It comes a big shock, really. Yeah.
You were also nominated as Australian of the Year as well. You didn't take out that award,
no,
which I feel personally saddened by, but it also it echoes back to a couple of years ago. I reckon you're a terrific Australian. You deserve that.
Stop it. No. Well, there you go. I think we're all. I mean, it's great to be nominated and be a part of it, and sitting in Canberra on a very hot night. It was good to be nominated. With the people that were nominated. A lot of great Australians there. What I really liked about it was there was a lot of young Indigenous or First Nation or First Peoples representing Young Indigenous or Young Australian of the Year. And I thought, wow, this is so good to see so many young First Peoples, being nominated for their local hero, and so it was good to see.
It segues nicely into something that you're doing now. There is the Archie Roach Foundation as well that was established in 2014.
Yeah.
That you're using that as a platform for opportunity for young Indigenous artists to get that leg up, to be able to get their voice and their art heard.
So, yeah, I'm sort of like talking way down into this microphone. I just put it up a bit.
Yep. You okay?
Yeah. Let's tighten up a bit or something. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, we helped a young, me and Jill Shelton, my manager, we helped through the foundation, helped a young woman by the name of Jessie Lloyd get her project off the ground called Mission Songs. If anybody's ever seen Mission Songs or heard it, it's a fantastic show, and it's so we helped her from the start to with finance to get around the country and collect all these old songs from the Aboriginal missions and Torres Strait Islander people's missions and settlements and reserves where these old people were sent, but they wrote songs, and so we helped her, and there's a few other what else, Jill? Sorry, Jill's over there, she's not with us. Sort of like not so much scholarships, but grants for the upcoming artists as well. But we also go into so-called justice, juvenile justice space, to talk to young people that are incarcerated, young fellas and young people, women and men, and as well, and that can be hard, but it's good to go in there and me and old Jack Charles, go into prisons and these institutions where young fellas are locked up as young as 10. I think they're locking 10-year-olds up, what? But just tell them our story and of our lived experience and how we turned our lives around, and hopefully they'll say that as well, yeah.
There's great power in that. We're drawing close to the end of our session. We will be able to take some questions from the central microphone if you'd like to line up for anyone who has got a question of Archie. But in the meantime, Archie's work continues. The last great tour of Australia is underway. Yeah. Obviously, with your health issues, being a man on the road, it just doesn't add up anymore. But there is going to be one last great national tour, which is commencing right now and will continue through a lot of this year. Yeah,
it's the last great, well, it's the last big national tour where all states, all cities, but we'll still be performing. But we won't be doing any more national tours. But yeah, as far as, I've got to slow down a little bit with health, because of not so much the stroke, slow a bit, but the lung cancer. They took half my left lung, lobectomy, and it's good, so it's all, I'm all free from that. But, with getting around physically or exerting myself physically is a little hard sometimes. I get breathless. But when I sing, it's a different... It's funny, they gave me a test. They test my blood oxygen level with this monitor. And I walked around a bit and sat down, and my blood oxygen level dropped. And so they put some oxygen on me, got me blood oxygen up to a decent level. And they asked me to sing a song or a verse in the chorus of a song. So I did. And they checked the monitor, and it never moved. It stayed one place. I said, wow, isn't that crazy? See, it's different. You utilize your lungs more efficiently when you sing, and you're using different muscles. So I'd be better off just going around singing all the time.
And you've certainly said that performing, especially at this latter part of your career, it's energising you in ways that you hadn't expected.
Yes, like I said, the relationship between me and people who are there with me in that space when I'm singing and telling stories, the energy is palpable, and we're just giving and receiving from each other, and there's not much else I'd rather be doing. To be able to experience that is beautiful, and it's a wonderful revelation as well. That
That's fabulous. We'll take a question from the floor, please.
Thank you very much for you, and thank you for Mission Songs and your role in it.
I can't see it. Oh, yes.
And for those who haven't heard Mission Songs or seen it, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Does your foundation do any work bringing music to young children in schools? Or are there programs that do that so that the kind of songs and stories of your life become a true equal partner, if not more, of the Australian stories that children learn in school?
Well, it's something that we're working on. My manager, Jill Shelton, is just trying to do that and get introduced to schools and children as well. But yeah, it's certainly something we want to do and be involved with. Yeah. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have the next question, please?
More to share a memory than a question, Archie.
We would like it to actually have questions, please.
Okay, just Archie had just performed a live tracker version at Her Majesty's, and I saw him less than 200 metres, and I just wanted to say, Archie, what a beautiful album that is amongst some of your best stuff, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's worth noting in the book as well that each chapter begins with a lyric as well. So while it's a very strong piece of writing, the lyrics are interwoven with the book, and there is a companion CD that is out as well.
Yeah.
Could we have another question, please?
Yeah, Archie, every session at this festival opens with a statement about the Kaurna people and their ownership of this land, and we pay respect to the people past, present and future.
Yeah.
If we walk a short distance up the hill, you'll find a mob who look utterly destroyed, people who I presume are the people of this land. Yeah. I just wonder, you're an exception. You escaped, in a sense.
Yeah.
These people haven't. I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit about how you feel about that and what you can do that could actually make a difference to their lives and the lives of people like them.
Yes.
We can.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. It's just to continue doing what I do. I've looked to other people who've led through example. But yeah, I'm readily available for people to come and talk to me. Anybody, if they're going to tell them, I understand, I see them, I've been there, I've done that. And whatever I can do, or whatever words I may give them to help them through, it's simple. I just say, well, look, if I can do it, you can do it.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Thank you. Archie, Thank you for this afternoon. It's been terrific.
Thank you.
I think it can be said you're a legend, and that your songs and spoken words have helped progressive white Australians understand the dreadful history and the way your people have suffered. But your compassion just doesn't go to black and white Australians. I remember a few years ago you were very central in organising the Freedom Flotilla to West Papua. And I was just wondering if you'd like to say a few words about that.
The Freedom Flotilla to West
Yes.
Papua. Oh, well, you know, it's where I see injustice anywhere, you know, because it's, you know, you've come through injustice and still live through injustice, and there's still injustice today. You'll support where injustice is happening anywhere in the world, especially, you know, the Papuan people, the West Papua, and you enjoy it. You know, places like that, then people need to know what they're going through, and what hopefully we need to do to change that. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question, please.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for sharing your story with us. And
Thank you.
And, what advice do you have for young Aboriginal kids today?
What advice?
Yeah.
Look, be proud, deadly. But whatever, and strong, and whatever you choose to do in life, if you love it, what you do, and if you strive to do something, strive to be excellent at whatever you want to do, then that's the only advice I can give you. Because if you strive to be, if you reach, if you look to be excellent in whatever it is that you wish to do and love to do, you will. And that's the advice only advice I can give. And I love yous.
So, firstly, Archie, congratulations on a great career.
Thank you.
Well done. It's really good to see an Indigenous voice making a difference. And I'm no fan of the current federal government. They did make an appointment, Ken Wyatt. They made an appointment to be an appointment that didn't exist before. But to me, Ken Wyatt's appointment as a minister for the Indigenous people, whatever they call it, to me that seems, smacks of tokenism. I don't believe that the Prime Minister is at all serious in that appointment, and I feel as if it is just a token exercise, and there is much work to be done for
And your
equity.
question is, please?
I'm getting there.
Thanks.
Much work to be done for Aboriginal people to achieve true equity in our society. So the question is, how much do you feel as if your work and the work of other Indigenous artists might, how much effect might it have in bringing the concerns of the Indigenous part of Australia to the fore, and actually making a difference in terms of that appointment, and making that appointment, if it's Ken Wyatt or somebody else, a meaningful appointment and not just a token appointment?
Well, I think that what we do, what I've done, and because of how people have reacted to what I do, and other young First Peoples performers, singers, songwriters, actors, artists, I don't know Ken all that well, but the funny thing about Ken is I knew his brother, and I used to drink with his brother, who passed away. And he's certainly not his brother, that's for sure. Look, people who are put in a position, then they need to be seen to be with the people and doing the people's will. I've yet to see that. But hopefully, I don't want to have a go at Ken. If he, whatever he can do, hopefully he can turn things around. When you're in government, it's like Peter Garrett when he was. You've got to toe the party line for some bloody reason, because you've got all these other people there telling you what to do. And if you go off, they're going to say and so it's hard. It's not easy, Buzz. But hopefully he'll find a way. Yeah.
Thank you. We've got time for just one final question. Thank you.
Kia ora, Archie. My name is Ria Hall. I'm a First Nations woman from New Zealand. I'm of Māori descent.
Hey.
I'm here in a festival capacity. I'm one of many festival directors, but I'm the youngest and the only female Indigenous director in Aotearoa, New Zealand currently. I'm also a singer by trade, an artist by trade, and so just from the perspective of my own indigeneity from Aotearoa, New Zealand is in a very different space in terms of our race relations to Australia. Yet when I walk around the streets of this beautiful city, I see many signs on the doors acknowledging all the tangata whenua, all the original peoples of the land.
Yeah.
But I don't see that translated into the wider sectors of society, which hurts my heart as an Indigenous woman.
Yeah.
So once we all leave, or once you leave this beautiful space of yours, what is the message that you want to leave and impart from your heart to your country, to your Indigenous people, and to the people who call Australia home?
Yeah. That's a big question, sister. The message, but like you say, what I love about Aotearoa is how people have been involved with the actual running of the country as well. Not just their communities, or iwi, but the government as a whole as well, making decisions not just for Māori, but for Pākehā too, And that's what we should be having in this country. Like that dad was talking about, Ken White. Well, he should be, not just making decisions about, Aboriginal First Peoples, Torres Strait Island peoples, but for the whole of the country as well. And I hope the day comes. I don't know if I'll live to see it, but that's what we look for. And these young fellas that just got up and talked before and asked questions, hopefully they'll grow up and hopefully one day grow up to be those leaders that don't just speak for their own people, but for all peoples of this country.
Thank you, Archie. It's a nice, strong note to finish. As we just mentioned, out of respect for Archie's health, he won't be doing signings, but this very, very powerful book from one of Australia's great storytellers is on sale at the book tent. Please, ladies and gentlemen, will you thank Archie Roach?